Devin Kulka, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Man, I have been looking forward to this interview.
I'm pumped for it. I am.
So there are like two reasons that I wanted to talk to you. I know that we crossed paths a couple of months ago and we get to know each other. And I have to say that you have a very interesting story. There's a lot of people out there who are successful, but they don't have a story to tell. And when it comes to you, I want to document about the adversities that you face at a very early stage. And I would like to, use that as a roadmap for the audience when someone loses someone who they love at a very early stage. I'm talking about, the loss of your father. And then the main topic, it's regarding the affordable housing crisis. Whenever I say crisis, people tell me, no, it's a shortage.
It's a crisis, for sure.
If I'm not mistaken, the median price for a house has jumped like 70% the past decade, which is crazy.
It's tough, for sure.
So you're an expert, general contractor out of Long Island, and the first person to opine on this topic. But everybody starts with the introduction.
Okay.
It's going to be a concise one. We don't want to be here until midnight. So Devin Kulka, you are the CEO of the Kulka Group, a full-service construction and development firm delivering complex, high-value projects across the tri-state area. At just 26, you took over the family business and transformed it from a construction company into a full-service real estate consortium. You also serve as a board trustee for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society and the Long Island Builders Institute, and you remain active in multiple regional business organizations.
Absolutely.
As I said, very concise. I know you are a recipient of like numerous awards of under 30, under 40, but I'm going to list everything in the description with your links. So whoever is interested to get know more about you, have the information.
Awesome.
So let's start. I assume you grew up on Long Island, right?
Grew up Long Island, grew up in a small town named Hauppauge, class of 07, 600 people in my class. Still best friends with all the kids I grew up with. It's a really tight community. A lot of people marry within Hauppauge. My wife is also from Hauppauge, but it was a great place to grow up.
How is growing up on Long Island? The reason why I'm asking you, all my life, I have spent it in Metropolis, New York, London. So I have never, lived out in the suburbs.
I love it because we have land, we have property, we have space, but at the same time, we're just an hour from what I think is the greatest city in the world. And we get to enjoy the fruits of New York City, but also, we have the beach, I have 3 dogs, I have land. So it's nice getting New York City when we want it, but not living here all the time.
I don't know why, but you strike me as a troublemaker as a kid. Were you?
I was a bit of a troublemaker.
Yeah.
I was an athlete in school and got straight A's. So I was able to kind of slide by and do things that might have got me in trouble. But, my teachers loved me. My coaches loved me. My parents were happy. So that was all that mattered.
What sports did you play?
Football, basketball, lacrosse. Lacrosse was my best sport. And I went to go play in college, but I ended up tearing my ACL. And then I rehabbed that, tore my other ACL, and said,
what the fuck?
I'm done. And I hung up the cleats. I transferred out to the University of Arizona. I studied pools and women and was not able to finish at the University of Arizona, but I ended up transferring back to New York Institute of Technology, and I got a great degree from New York Tech in building management. So yeah.
I'm not going to ask the typical question, what drew you to construction, because you're coming from a construction family. But this is not always the case.
I was actually not ever drawn to construction.
Really?
So growing up, I wanted nothing to do with it.
Oh, tell me about it.
My father, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, it was different, right? Back then, people were always screaming, people were always yelling. It's different nowadays, but I grew up in a household that was very loud. Now I'm the complete opposite. I'm pretty mellow and I don't really get to a point of screaming, but I always saw my dad yelling and I did not want to be that person. And I thought, who would want to do that for the rest of your life, right? And eventually, one of his project managers told me, you could do it, but manage in a different way. And it opened up my eyes to what could be. And, I started with my dad back in 2012. And before that, I had asked him for a job and he told me no. So
Really?
I went to him, I wanted a job. He said no. It's like, what the heck? He ended up helping me get a job for a subcontractor of ours. So I did that for a little bit. And then finally, one of our supers was like, hey, Jack, he'd learned really well under me. Why don't you bring him on board? And that's how I started with Kulka.
What was the reason why he didn't want you? Which I think is a good thing.
He wanted me to first work for somebody else than in the industry rather than just jumping in and working from Kulka. And he wanted me to get a different perspective on how things are done. I think he wanted to see me actually work with my hands. A lot of people in the industry never get the opportunity to work in the field and might just sit behind a desk. And he thought that it would be really valuable to get out there and work with my hands. And still to this day, I might walk on a job site and I'll see somebody that I worked with, 15, 20 years ago. And, typically they're making jokes like, oh, look at the boss now. But deep down, I'm sure they know, like I've been in there in the trench with them. I've worked in the rain with them. I've done it with them. And so I think it was really good for me.
There's no doubt that you have gained the respect from
Yeah.
those people. So you started as an assistant super.
Yep.
And then at what point you lost your father?
So I'm an assistant super at this point. It's 2016 and my father has a stroke. And overnight, I was thrown into his shoes. We were building a $150 million pharmaceutical facility. We were building a $35 million distribution facility. We were building a high luxury residential apartment complex in Roslyn, and we were building a hotel in Rockville Center. And all of a sudden, I go from just an assistant super on one job to running the company overnight. And it was crazy. It was definitely that sink or swim moment in your life. I grew up overnight, and eventually my father was able to come back, but he said, hey, you did a better job than I would have done. Let's figure out what the transition looks like. And then it wasn't until years later that my father eventually did pass from heart disease.
So let me ask you, I remember when I was 26 and I was a super, definitely I didn't have the capacity to run a company. So walk me through the earliest challenges that you faced, talking about the first week. And if there was someone who helped you to go through those motions.
Absolutely. So right away, dealing with a father that was in the hospital, right? He was nonverbal. He wasn't eating. That was the biggest challenge of all while navigating the business, but the business had to go on. There were people that were doing right by my father, and then there were people that were not doing right by father. So quickly understanding that dynamic was really important. Unfortunately, when I stepped into his shoes, I saw that the person closest to him was stealing from him. And her husband, who also worked for the company, they were both stealing from the company. So that was challenge number one. I did not let them go immediately. I planned it out and I got all of my backup to it. And I found 2 replacements so that the business wouldn't get hurt. And once I stacked my chips and had everything ready to move, we let them go and moved on from them. But that was definitely one of the major challenges to start off for sure.
How long did you take you to prep, to make that change? Because I assume that change signal the transition, right? That you took the reins of the company, right? By letting those people go.
Yeah, I didn't tell the outside world why we were letting them go. Everyone knew that he was like as close to my father as anyone can ever be. But I didn't want the outside world, who already was questioning what's going to happen with Jack, who's this Devin Kulka, can the company survive? I didn't need them to have another reason to question us. So when I did let her go, it was definitely an eye-opener to a lot of the outside world of like, wow, I thought this person was untouchable. But I always say nobody's untouchable, even myself. There might be a time where my business outgrows me, and might be a great thing.
So you built a company throughout the years. How do you stay ahead of the competition?
I've been asked in the past what our differentiator is, and I've learned with the help of the people in my company that we are more than just a contractor. We're more than just a GC. We're more than just a CM. We try to bring value well beyond just building a building. I would be lying if I said I don't watch my competition. I don't feel my competition. And I also would be lying if I said that I don't watch people that have succeeded much more than we have, and try to mimic some of what they do. But at the same time, we do it our own way. At Kulka, we want to deliver that exceptional value. We want to make the experience really enjoyable. And we want people to walk away saying, we don't want to work with any other company ever again other than Kulka, right? And that takes every single person in the company, not just me, not just my upper management. It takes, the lowest person on the totem pole. So we are very particular with who we hire. We're very picky with that. There's a certain person that might work at another company, but then will come to Kulka and might not work. It's just, there's a certain type of person that we want at Kulka. And so,
can you expand on that? The reason why I'm asking, I know that you're actively looking for people.
we are.
Can you expand or the profile of a person that you're looking for that meets the requirements, your requirements?
We want people that hold themselves accountable and people that have such a high standard, right? We have an extremely high standard of how we work at Kulka, and if we have people that aren't holding themselves accountable, they're just a cancer to the organization. So first and foremost, we want self-motivated people to hold themselves accountable. We like hungry people, right? And that doesn't mean just young, right? You can be older or you could be later in your career, but if you still have that hunger, that's really important to us. We put in our interview process, we put people through an entire task where we'll send them drawings, we'll send them questions. Even for the people that are entry level, we'll still do this because it's not just something to see how much construction knowledge you have or how you think. We want to see how you prepare, right? If someone comes in and they don't have anything with them, no notes, no nothing, sometimes I don't even want to take the interview, right? For us, it's really important to see that you're going to be prepared, right? Somebody coming in to meet with me for an interview, that can change their entire life, right? That's your career. That can change your entire life. If you're not willing to prepare for that interview, then why are you going to prepare for an OAC meeting or a sales meeting or anything of that nature?
I'm intrigued because I have never heard that before about sending, drawings and notes to the candidate. for the interview to prepare?
Sometimes people really don't want anything to do with it.
I think that is a red flag. If someone receives something and says like, no, I don't have to prepare. It's like, this is the challenging part, trying to find a person that fits into the culture of the company is challenging. And then, of course, there's a learning curve. And then you ask your question, how long is that learning curve? Do you have the duration that you give to that person to test him out? And then at the end of that timeline, you say, okay, he's not the person that we thought he was.
I think within the first couple weeks, you can get a gut feeling on if somebody's going to work out or not. I think every time we hire somebody, we have this premeditated notion of what they are going to be like or what they're going to be great at. And at the end of the day, you don't really know anybody until they're there. So there's a bit of a honeymoon stage to figure each other out. But at the end of the day, if they have that work ethic, if they're a good person, if they get along with people, if they make smart decisions, they're going to work somehow, some way, right? Like we're going to find something that fits their strengths and we're going to put them in a position to succeed. But I've certainly have had times where I've let people go after a day or after a week.
After a day?
After a day.
What happened? You have to tell me about that.
After a day.
And I thought I was the cold man.
I guess the easiest one was the guy who no called, no showed day one, but that's almost self-explanatory, right? Like, show, no call, day one, this is not going to work out, right? I think quicker than that, people that might have said they had done something or might have just blatantly lied in their interview, and then you get here and you're like, you don't know 101 about construction, right? And I think that's part of how my interview process has evolved over time, because I never used to do the sending of the plans and almost like show me what you got test. And I've learned, right? I've made some really bad hires throughout my career, and I've made some really good hires. And I do feel that the ones that I'm making, the past couple of years have been the best ones of my career. And I'm blessed to work with the people that I work with.
That's great. That's great. Before we jump to the main topic, let's go on a break.
Okay.
I hope you're enjoying the episode. And if you do, please like, comment, subscribe, share the content with your friends. But more importantly, thank you for watching. So we're back from the break, discussing about the main topic, affordable housing crisis. From your vantage point as a developer, general contractor, someone who interacts on the Long Island market, what are the real root causes for this crisis?
So I think it's simple economics. There's not enough supply to meet the demand, right? If the supply was oversaturated for the demand, then prices would decrease. But because there's just not enough supply meeting the demand, prices just increase to a point where oftentimes a home is unaffordable, or even an apartment a lot of times is unaffordable. We just need more housing and all types of housing across Long Island, across the state, in order to meet the demand.
If we take a hypothetical, what reform will unlock more affordable units?
So I think on Long Island specifically, it's the zoning restrictions. It's very, very difficult to find a property in an as of right zoning that will allow for, say, multifamily, right? And multifamily is the quickest way to get more housing units on Long Island. We've seen a lot of success in some of the local townships lately by rezoning properties or areas in overlay districts to allow multifamily. It's that has resulted in more money, more developers coming to those areas and wanting to invest in those areas because the time frame is now limited and the risk is limited, right? A lot of times these properties aren't zoned for multifamily, and a developer and investor then has to take the risk to get it rezoned, right? And as it goes through that rezoning, that can take, a year and a half to 2 years before you ever put a shovel in the ground. And that's a year and a half to 2 years of pre-construction costs, pre-development costs, when you might not get it rezoned at the end of the day. I've seen a lot of developers take it for a year and a half, get to a public hearing, and there's 100 to 150 people that are speaking out against the development. And now all of that money that they've spent on the project goes to waste, and they have no project. And so I think zoning is the biggest constraint on Long Island. And some of the townships are being a little bit more proactive to implement these overlay districts, or to ask, both the local community and the developers what's the best way to spur more housing across Long Island. But there's still a lot of work to be done for sure.
I'm trying to wrap my head around it, the fact that you describing the local communities are opposed to multifamily projects, but at the same time, the same people complaining about the shortage, right?
Yeah, we have people.
So it sounds like a catch-22.
It's almost like the person who comes out against the 7-Eleven when you're trying to get a 7-Eleven approved, but then as soon as the 7-Eleven is built, they're the first person shopping in there, right? It's you do get a lot of people that will come out against the project, but then will complain when their son or their daughter has to move out of state because there's nowhere affordable for them to live, or maybe they have to move out of state. It's difficult to navigate for sure.
So based on the current market and the foresight that you have as a developer, looking down 5 and 10 years, do you see Long Island, talking about the affordable housing market, being on a recovery path, or you think things are going to become worse?
I think things are getting better for sure, right? Both for affordable housing and market rate housing. And I think that the more market rate housing supply is out there, the more things just become more affordable in general, right? Specifically for affordable housing, I think it used to have a really bad stigma. And what people are realizing now is that this is the teacher, this is the cop, this is the local person working at the restaurant that you attend. These are people in our community. This is friends and family that are living in these affordable units. And so that stigma is going away slowly, but surely. And then when it comes to market rate, people didn't want apartments at all for the longest time. I think that people have been really accustomed to transit-oriented development on Long Island, and you keep hearing about TODs. But I think the reality is we need more than just transit-oriented development. And I think we've built a lot of apartments near train stations, and areas like Riverhead have put in TODs, and Ronkonkoma Hub doing their TOD. Not all of those people that are moving there are, hopping on a train and coming to New York City, right? A lot of them are, maybe more so in Nassau County. But in Suffolk County, you're not getting that. But people want to live there because you have a work, live, and play environment in those areas, right? I think that's really important to people for sure. But we need to move um, and not just build near train stations and downtowns, but I think we need to build more housing of all types: senior housing, affordable housing, market rate housing, condominiums, housings of all types, near major infrastructure, right? Near highways, near places like the Hauppauge Industrial Park, which is the second largest park behind Silicon Valley. We're now allowing housing in the park, right? But that's a great place where people can work and should be able to live as well. So we're getting there, but we need to not just focus on TOD, and we need to put housing near major roadways and where we have the infrastructure to do so.
So you're saying Long Island has the infrastructure when it comes to sewer and water systems to support the new developments, new projects like that?
So Nassau County is fully sewered. Suffolk County is catching up. And as you see districts like St. James, districts like Kings Park, Smithtown, Mastic getting sewers, you can see the money is coming and people are investing, because then you can get density. So my good friend, Suffolk County Executive Ed Romaine, is always talking about the need for more sewers in Suffolk County, and he's fighting to get money from the state level to do so. That will certainly be a huge help to getting more housing on Long Island.
Is it something that you would like to see in the plan that you haven't seen yet? And I agree with you. When it comes to affordable housing, has like a bad connotation. Other regions, they're referring to workforce housing, which is, I think, is the same thing.
I think there's a lot of misinformation thrown around that taint the affordable housing and market rate housing development, right? People are always coming out against it to talk badly about it, but they're spreading misinformation, right? Like, IDAs are really important to get projects done on Long Island. An IDA will give you tax incentives, both mortgage recording tax, a tax abatement on the materials that you purchase during construction, and then a property tax abatement. Now that's not
That comes from the state, correct?
that comes from the state through local IDAs, right? So Suffolk County has an IDA, Nassau County has an IDA, and then a bunch of the townships have an IDA. So that is a state benefit, but it's not like they're giving you just no taxes, right?
Yeah.
They're actually giving you a mechanism where it now makes it economical to build a project in an area where it might not be economical to build it. It might create jobs doing so. And over time, the taxes are going to increase. And so your tax base will increase because you gave this tax incentive.
Yeah.
People think, kind of like when Amazon was coming to Queens, that they were just getting, they didn't have to pay taxes. That's not how it works.
No.
So I think the spreading of misinformation, I'd like to see that go away. In terms of comprehensive planning, I don't know how to solve it other than
I mean, it's a complicated topic because it involves like different groups of people. You talking about developers, general contractors, then you have, local communities, then you have, the political segment. So it's complicated. It's not easy.
It's complicated, but these projects are necessary for our economy. These projects are necessary to live. These projects spur, retail then popping up and job creation. These projects are good for the most part. Like we don't have people at the moment in Long Island trying to build something that is way out of the ordinary, and we're not building 60-story skyscrapers on Long Island. So I think we just need to get more of the positive message about these projects across.
Do you have the politicians like pushing the affordable housing agenda, or is like split in the middle, like you have half who are opposed and the other half who are like in support?
I think you have people from both sides of the aisle that understand the importance of it and are supporting it. But I think you also have people on both sides of the aisle that don't want change, right? Like I've heard from politicians, the best way to get voted in is to do nothing.
I never understood that. No, I heard that before and like drives me crazy.
It's horrible. It's a horrible way to go about it. True leadership comes from doing what's necessary and bringing upon change to an area, right? Anything that's stagnant and stays the same, it dies, right? We've seen it with businesses. We've seen it in areas. It's just, you have to always change and strive to get better.
I hope they're gonna come up with a solution.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
I hope so too.
Switching gears, what are the milestones that you want to hit in the next 5 years with Kulka Group?
So we just started getting into the development world, right? We opened up our first affordable housing project, which is 55 units in East Patchogue. We're in construction on our second right now, which is 96 units in Central Islip. And then we have 3 more in the pipeline.
Those are like your developments, right?
Our developments, we have a equity stake in. We have co-GP partners that are amazing that we work with, and we couldn't do it without our partners. But it was our foot into the door of development, right? So I think over the next 5 years, we want to grow the development team and grow the amount of projects that we're doing. Right now, it's me and a couple people internally who really focus on getting those developments off the ground. And so being able to grow that team will help feed construction. But I think the main focus right now is building the construction team, right? Every time we add an amazing person to the team, it helps us grow and scale the business. We're going to do over 50 million in 2026. I'd like to do over 100 million, in the next 3 to 5 years.
Are you equally involved in the development as you are in the construction?
I'm probably more involved in construction, and all of our team is, right? Our construction is our bread and butter. It's who we are. It's how we grew the business over the past 51 years. And that is always going to be our focus. Right now, I kind of push the development with a couple other people, but most of my attention is in our construction projects and on our clients and executing the stuff that we have in hand.
Do you have a target of how much you want the percentage to be? Like 70% GC, 30% development? Have you thought about that, or it's too early?
Too early to tell. I always anticipate that it's going to be more just third-party general contracting and construction management than developing. But at the end of the day, development's going to help feed the construction arm too, and they go hand in hand. And for the longest time, we were helping others get things entitled and get things designed and taking them through that process, but for no equity or no ownership. And so we said, well, if we're doing it for others, we might as well do it a little bit for ourselves. And glad that we got our first one opened and we're fully occupied. And a second one is in construction currently.
That's great. That's great. We're talking about Kulka. How about Devin? What are your milestones you want to achieve in the next 5 years? I know that you're like a family man.
Yes, I got an amazing wife. I have a 2.5-year-old son. I have my second child on the way.
Congrats.
Thank you very much. I think just continue being the best father and husband that I can be is the most important thing in our industry, in our business. you're not always home. You're a lot of nights you're out working, you're doing at an event, you're at a dinner, etc. So when I am home, I try to be really present. I use my son as my gauge as to like, am I doing a good job or not, right? Because when I am there, he absolutely loves me, right? And we have a great bond. And with my wife, we communicate, and she is the biggest supporter that I have, and she's behind everything that I want to do. And um, I'm blessed. She was my best friend for 10 years before we ever married.
That's great.
And
That's great.
I'm blessed that I have a great woman behind me.
As we're coming to an end, I would like to ask you, what advice would you give to a young person who face adversity at a very early stage?
Behind adversity is really good times. Just put your head down and get through it. Surround yourself by people that are going to help you. I had a lot of good people that were there to help me through those early stages, right? Project managers, office staff, people that didn't even work for Kulka that wanted to see me succeed. So surround yourself by those people. But I think the easiest thing to remember out of this is behind any adversity comes good times.
That's great. That's great. Devin, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.